Hello everyone, I decided to make a video, another review video which I didn't do for a while, which was mostly because I wasn't really following Magic that much. I wasn't like looking at the matches, and I just didn't really felt like I was invested enough so that I can talk about the games. But I started playing a little bit more recently, and because of that I also watched the last Pro Tour. I don't actually know what it's called right now. It's probably like some championships or something, but anyway, I watched some of the games in the finals, and we're gonna look at one of the games today. There were some interesting spots that I want to talk about, but I haven't really played history that much recently. Especially after the bannings and like the new cards got released and stuff. So it's possible that I'm like missing a lot of stuff, and maybe I say that a person made potentially a mistake, but there is a reason why he did that because I just missed something. But regardless, it can be interesting to talk about it. So before we get into the game, let's look at the deck list so that you know what's going on. So this is the deck list of Yuuki Ichikawa, which actually won the entire tournament. Yeah, it's just a black-green deck. I think like someone like Can You Hero play Junt? That's like the more common version of the deck. At least it used to be. But the Japanese team came up with this black-green deck, which seems like really smooth. I don't actually see a reason why would you play a red. Obviously there is Corvold, but if you look at the cards, all the cards are really good and they work really well together, and it probably has a better mana base and stuff, so it makes sense. Interesting thing that's also going to be important in this game is that they decided to play 2 lanterns in their deck, which, I don't know if, Phoenix or maybe Mirror or whatever is like super popular in history because I'm not following that much. But yeah, it's definitely crazy good in this matchup. Like, he's playing against Phoenix, right? And he can also get it with Trail of Crumbs. He can return it with Lurus. So that's a huge difference. Like, I think that the matchup would probably still be good for black green. At least in the coverage they said it's like 70-30, which I don't really believe, but that's what they said, or maybe that's what Simon said. By the way, the addition of lanterns, it might actually be the case. I don't know. This is game. We're gonna watch game 1, so the sideboard isn't really important. Let's look at Simon's deck list. He's playing. I would assume that this is like a stock Phoenix deck. I don't really see anything that special. I guess he's playing like Y1 Fading Hope, which I guess is interesting. 1 Smashing. And yeah. Oh, he's not playing any Crackling Drakes. Is that card not legal? It might not. I think no, he's playing in the sideboard. I see. Okay, well, I would assume that card is really good, but I guess they tested a lot, and maybe just not powerful or fast enough for historic. Either way, this is his deck list, and let's get into the game. There is not like infinite interesting spots. The reason why I chose this game is because I've actually seen it, so it was like easier for me to. It's easier for me to talk about a game. I actually watched it once more after that. But it's easier for me to talk about a game that I've seen several times. So first is the keep. So Simon has a 1-lander on the play, and I think it would be a snap keep normally, but he has a specifically Sulfur Falls, which is a tap land, and he decides to mulligan. But I actually think that's wrong. But as I said in the beginning, I'm not like an expert on history right now or anything. But if you look at the hand. Turn 2, you can just Fadeless Looting, so you're gonna see 3 cards total, and if you hit a land, your hand is actually really good, right? You can follow it up with a 1-mana creature, you can discard like you have the combo of Phoenix and Fadeless Looting, so you can just discard a Phoenix, maybe you can discard the Ox as well, because it's pretty expensive and it's nice to have in a graveyard, so the looting is really powerful. Obviously the downside is that you can miss a land, and then you're kinda screwed. But even in that case, like, maybe you hit like another looting or like consider or something, and you can hit the second land the turn after that. Obviously that would be a bad start, and if you knew that that's going to happen, you would probably mulligan. But that's like a fail scenario, and even that scenario isn't that bad, and you're playing like against like a black-green deck, which is like really grindy. He's not really aggressive, so he's not gonna like punish you with a super fast draw if you don't hit the lands. And you know, he's very grindy. He has like mid-hook massacres, he has fatal pushes, he can like exile your graveyard and stuff like that. So you actually need like a lot of like raw cards. It's not really about just like having like a really smooth draw and curving out to like raise your opponent. Oftentimes it's going to be more about like just having that additional threat or whatever. So I think Mulligan is actually a huge cost in this matchup. It's usually the case against like, you know, any black-green deck. I guess this is not like a black-green deck, like a Jan deck with like Liliana's discard spells and stuff, where it's even more true because it's like more combo oriented. But still, it's still a black-green deck with a bunch of removal spells. So I personally would keep the hand, but I definitely understand why he didn't. So he puts away a Delver, I guess, which is probably the weakest card in the matchup, especially against the... Oh, I'm an idiot, he's mulliganing, what am I saying? Just ignore that. Okay, with this hand, you obviously put away a land. It's pretty straightforward. So interestingly, we see a Pillar of Flame in this hand, which he's playing 2 of. And you know, existence of that is going to be interesting. I will explain in a second. I guess I can move myself a little bit. Okay, so he starts with Channeler, obviously. So let's look at Yuuki's hand. So he has well, he kind of has 3 options, right? He can either play a cat, he can push the Channeler, or he can do nothing. I haven't played this matchup enough, but I assume that he wants to keep the push for later, for like you know, haste Phoenixes and just kill the Channeler with a Midhood Massacre. I'm not sure if that's true, but he is going to do that later rather than pushing it. So I assume they kind of came to conclusion that that's better. Obviously there is like a risk that he gets Delirium before that, but he can still push it if it happens. So I don't really know. The better question is whether you play the cat or not. So like, the pro one is Pillar of the Flame, right? If he has a Pillar of the Flame, playing the cat is really bad because he just gets exiled and you can draw like an Oven later, and then it becomes pretty awkward that you played it. But if he doesn't have the Pillar, which he plays only 2 of, you can kinda save some damage by like maybe blocking this Channeler, like he's not gonna attack into it. Also, maybe you wanna have a cat in your graveyard, so if you play it now, maybe you can Midhood Massacre on turn 3, and then if you draw like a Trail of Crumbs, you can immediately like get the value from the cat or something. But if he has Pillar, it's like really bad for you, and he has like a Delirium guy in play, which makes Pillar even stronger. So I'm not actually sure what's right. I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. If it was me playing there, I would just push the Channeler. But, you know, maybe they're just wrong. I can definitely see like practicing more and like coming to conclusion that you just want to play a Midhook Massacre in these kind of scenarios and keep the pushes. It's definitely way more than possible, so I don't know. But I'm just telling you that if I was sitting there, I would just play the push, so. Okay, so another interesting point is that Simon could have... He could have drawn a card and then Pillar, or he could have Pillar on upkeep. So I want to talk about scries or like, you know, surveils in general. So, okay, if you're like a complete beginner, you don't even know that there is like a step in upkeep and you can like play your spells on upkeep, right? So you just don't do that. But then the people get a little bit better and they always do it on upkeep with scries and stuff. And this is many times, I think actually, more often than not, it's a mistake because they tap out on the upkeep to scry to make their draw better, but then they're tapped out, so they cannot actually play the card that they draw. They like the reason why they're doing that is that your draw is better, right? But you don't have any mana to play your spell anyway, so whether you drew a better card or not doesn't actually matter. If that's the case, then it's actually better to first draw a card and then scry because you have more information of you have more cards in your hand, so you have a better information of whether you want to scry to the top or to the bottom. the times where scrying on upkeep is good when you have mana remaining, so you can actually, you know, cast the spell that you're going to draw, or obviously if you need a land or something, that's different. But Simon's deck specifically plays a lot of 1-drops. I also think he would have liked to mill a land here. He needs the land for his cards, but he kind of needs like a higher density of cards. He also would like to draw something like Iteration maybe, and he can draw like I don't know, a Consider, a Faithless Looting or something. So I think it was better to do an upkeep. It is possible though that, you know, because of the existence of Meathook Massacre, he doesn't want to play a second 1 toughness creature. Maybe he wants to keep the looting or the considers for like a Phoenix turn. So if he knows for sure that he's not going to most likely play any 1-drop card, then it's better to draw for the reasons that I explained. Like for example, right now he's missing a land. So, you know, if he sees a land on upkeep, he's not really sure what to do with it, but if he draws a land, he can consider a land to the graveyard. Or if he draws a spell, he can consider a land to the top. Like, it just gives him more info. Kind of how I explained it before. So, you know, it kind of comes down to what's important in the matchup and stuff. I didn't play enough, so I don't really know if he wants to play his, like, 1-drops or not. But I would assume that if he hit, like, Faithless Looting or Consider, he would like to play it. It's possible that he wouldn't even play Faithless Looting because of the existence of Soul Guide Lantern, so like discarding Phoenix here isn't even that good, because you can just exile it with a Lantern the turn that it comes into play. If that's the case, then, you know, the only card that he would play might be Consider, and in that case, it might just be better to draw the card first, so maybe his play was correct. I just thought it was interesting, so I wanted to talk about it. He would actually, like, if he did it on upkeep, he would have the option of milling this Phoenix that he drew for the turn. And if he did that, then the Lantern would get him pretty badly, so... Maybe he wouldn't put it in a graveyard though, like, I don't know. Yeah, and we see that, you know, Yuki's plan is to just Meathook this Channeler, so... I'm gonna take his word for it. Like, the upside of pushing would be that he can actually return the Lurus on the third turn. I guess he doesn't wanna, maybe like he doesn't wanna kill his own Lurus with the Massacre or something, so he would rather like use it now and then maybe go like Lurus plus push in like some of the future turns or something. Like, these sequences are just too complicated without playing the matchup before, that I'm not really sure, but I'm trying to like explain the lines of play. Okay, so here we see an iteration, and basically Simon is deciding, so he has the option of just playing a land and having a land in his hand. If he does that, he knows for sure that he can go Phoenix into Ox, or he can get a land and play Consider. So, when I was watching, well, like, I think on the first glance, you would always get the Consider, right? Because, why not? You're just, like, so likely to hit a land anyway. Maybe you get Delirium. You know, that's pretty straightforward. But then I thought about it, and I thought that maybe you just, like, really want to make sure that you go Phoenix into an Ox. And if you're just like kind of looking for the land with a Consider anyway, why you're just like not taking it immediately, it can kind of go wrong. On the other hand, you know, Yuuki plays 4 Meathook Massacres, so he's like pretty likely to have it, especially with the way he played so far. And getting the Consider gives you like an out of maybe getting the Delirium this turn, and that would be really good against the Meathook Massacre, right? Like, he just wouldn't be able to kill your creature. And I think that argument just like kind of puts it over the top, so it makes sense to play the Consider there, I think. When I was watching, I thought that Simon plays the Drake in his deck, the Crackling Drake, which would be another argument to get a Consider, because it's just like a card that you really want to play on turn 4, and Consider would make it more likely that you see it, but he doesn't actually play it in his main deck, so... I wonder if there's like any other like reasons why would you know, think about this so much, or Simon is just thinking about what I kind of explained before. Not really sure. Maybe he was also thinking whether, you know, getting Fable Passage or the other land was better, which I guess it can matter slightly. Yeah, so now he doesn't want Disconsider because he doesn't really have an extra mana to cast it, and, you know, he wants to go Phoenix into Ox. Presumably, maybe not, but... Like, if you have a lot of mana, Consider is always better than a random card because you just use the extra card, but if the extra card is bad that you would draw instead of it, you can just, you know, bin it and get the extra one. But it does cost 1 mana, it's not free, so, you know, that's why he didn't want it. As you can see, he didn't hit Delirium with a Channeler, so his creature got Meathook Massacred anyway. And he didn't draw the land, which he, you know, could have taken with the iteration, so he might get punished for not taking it because now he cannot play the Ox next turn. You know, it's questionable whether he even wants to do that, because if he doesn't draw the land, it probably means that he drew like a spell he can cast, so he can maybe cast that plus Delver or whatever. You know, it's not great to play the Ox into potential additional Meathook Massacre with the Lantern in play. Because then you discard the other Ox, he just kind of kills your creatures and exiles the graveyard. And you're kind of left with nothing. I guess you draw 3 cards for the Ox, so not like literally nothing. But I'm just saying that maybe playing the Ox next turn isn't even that good, so... Here we see Yuuki drawing the Owen, which, you know, if he had the cat in his hand, would be really good with his trail and Meathook in play. Which makes you think that maybe that was a mistake. I'm not saying it was a mistake, but it looks really bad now is all I'm saying. So he returns the Lures instead of playing the trail, because, you know, it's expensive, you cannot really do it freely on any other turns, and by, you know, putting the trail into play doesn't accomplish that much. You still, like, you don't have the cat, you don't really have time to activate it. And having the Lures in your hand allows you to get a Lantern back if you need it for some of the future turns. Like, Yuuki obviously doesn't know for sure how Simon's hand looks like, but there is a pretty good chance that he will need a second Lantern sometime soon, so it makes sense to return the Lures, even though it does look like unexciting. Yeah, so what you can do, it's a cool trick. So you can stack the Lantern first, you know, and with a trigger on a stack, you can push, and because the Lantern is already stacked, it actually kills a creature with mana cost 4 or less, and then the ability resolves and it exiles the Phoenix, which is a pretty cool interaction actually. I've seen it in some other game as well, so that's probably pretty common for this matchup. I wonder if that was actually a good play by Yuuki. Like, I don't really understand it. I guess Simon plays only 2 Oxes, but he could have, like, I don't know, like a Delver or Channeler as well, or something, or like bunch of like 2 random Delvers or something, and then you can just Meathook plus Lantern, and you still have the extra push. The downside to that is that you will end up playing the push anyway, and you just lost free life for no reason. But I think the upside overrides it. Like, now he has an Ox in play that, you know, he could have just like Meathook Massacre together with the Phoenix. You would still have the push in your hand, it would be up a card, like, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't really like that push play. Like, you can, you know, depending on what happens, you can still make that play end of turn, but if he just plays like, you know, Ox is the most obvious thing that makes it look bad, but he could have also had like 2 Delvers, Delver plus Channeler, you know, combination a lot of cards, or maybe even like a Phoenix post combat or something, as crazy as it sounds. And all that you have to pay for that, you know, possibility of all just being able to kill his entire board with Miduk Massacre and getting into a way better spot than you are otherwise, is taking free damage. Like, I don't know, even like he was at 18 or something. He has a trail, he has the mid hook thing, he has a Lotus that has lifelink as well, though that's unlikely to matter. I don't know. I would take the free there, so. But I'm pretty greedy. I am pretty greedy overall. I'm usually on the other side of things, that I'm just trying to get like more value. So I'm just taking like, you know, damage here and there. I just think it's not going to matter, and then I lose the game exactly, you know, on like exact C's, or just like, you know, if I didn't take like 5 extra damage for no reason, I would have won maybe. So maybe I should preserve my life total a little bit more. So Simon doesn't really have any interesting plays. He's just gonna play the Channeler and a removal spell Lurus, which obviously he has to go. So I guess with the push thing, the thing is going to end up kind of the same way, because he's just gonna Massacre now. Whereas if he did it before, you know, he would just have the push for the Channeler now. So I don't know, it kind of ended up being the same in the end. So now it looks really bad for Simon. Because he doesn't have enough cards in the graveyard to get back the Ox. Even if he had, Yuuki can still exile a Lantern. So the Ox wasn't coming back ever there. But luckily for Simon, he drew the Arclight Phoenix, which gives him a little bit of hope. Actually, there are just like not going to be any interesting spots from this point on, as long as I remember. What ends up happening is that Simon just top decks Iteration next turn into another Phoenix, and then he draws a burn spell and kills Yuuki. Because Yuuki just doesn't really draw anything, and that's how he wins the game. But he loses the match in the end. I just thought we're like, let's just, you know, maybe scroll a little bit. Yeah, he just draws another Phoenix, and then he draws a Pillar of Flame and kills him. So, you know, Simon ends up winning this game. He loses the match, so congrats to Yuuki for winning the tournament. Not like a super exciting game, but there were like a lot of interesting spots that I wanted to talk about. I'm not sure, you know, even when I can take the time and think about it, I'm still like not sure which play was right, which is super interesting, right? Like, tells you a lot about how these like decks are hard to play, and stuff like that. So props to Yuuki for winning the tournament. I think when I watched him play, I thought he was playing awesome. It's possible that he played flawless this game as well, you know, but you know, some of the plays might have seemed bad, but you know, I can see Simon's hand. I knew he had a Pillar of Flame or whatever, but maybe overall on EV it was just better to play the cat there. So yeah, if you liked the video, please click on the like and subscribe button, and see you next time. Bye.